Have you ever wondered if you can have two passports, maybe even three? Well, today, we're diving into the surprisingly complicated world of dual and multiple nationality. We're going to unpack what it is, how it even works, and what it really means to be a citizen of more than one country at the very same time.
Okay, so for most of us, it's a pretty simple equation, right? One person, one country, one passport. That's kind of the default setting for how we think about where we belong.
But then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum, statelessness. It's a rare but truly devastating situation where a person has no nationality at all. I mean, think about it. That leaves them without basic rights or protection from any country.
And that brings us to this fascinating middle ground, which is where we're living today. We're talking about people who are legally citizens of two or sometimes even more countries at once. So how on earth is that possible, and what does it actually mean in practice?
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the whole spectrum of nationality. Then we'll see how these legal overlaps actually happen. After that, we'll check out how different countries deal with it, explore the real-world rights and duties, and finally, we'll zoom out for the big picture.
All right, first up, let's talk about the nationality spectrum. This is all about understanding the basics of who belongs where. Okay, so now for the nitty-gritty and overlap of laws. How does dual nationality even happen? Well, it turns out it's less about some grand design and more of a fascinating quirk in how legal systems work.
The key phrase here, you gotta remember this, is overlap of domestic laws. There isn't some global office that just hands out dual citizenship. It happens when two different countries, each with their own set of rules, both decide that the same person is their citizen. It's basically an accident, an unintentional result, not some coordinated international plan.
Okay, here's a classic example. Just picture this. You're born in country A, right? And country A follows a law of the soil, which means if you're born there, you're a citizen. Simple. But what if your parents are from country B, a place that uses a law of blood, meaning you get citizenship from them? Well, boom, just like that, both countries' laws apply to you, and you automatically have dual nationality, right from birth. No paperwork needed.
And you know that stacking of laws at birth? That's just one way it can happen. You could also get another nationality through your grandparents. Or you could become a citizen in a new country, a process called naturalization, and they might not ask you to give up your old citizenship. Heck, it can even happen on a huge scale, like when borders change or whole countries dissolve and new ones pop up.
Now for our third section, national rules, global effect. And since this whole thing is based on individual country laws, you can probably guess. There is no single global rulebook for how to handle it.
So you can pretty much sort countries into three buckets. First, you've got the permissive ones. They just see nationality as a legal status, so having more than one is no big deal. Then you have conditional countries, which might say, okay, we'll allow it, but only in very specific cases. And finally, you get the restrictive countries. They often focus on exclusive loyalty and might even require you to give up your other citizenships.
All right, let's talk about rights and responsibilities. What's it actually like to have two passports in your pocket? Because it's not just a collection of cool benefits, it's a really complex web of duties too.
And this is probably the most important question you need to be asking. It's not a free pass. There are very, very real and sometimes pretty surprising limits to what having multiple nationalities actually gets you.
Okay, so this is the crucial point, so listen up. When you are physically in one of your countries of nationality, let's call it country A, then the government of country A treats you as only their citizen. That's it. Your other country, country B, generally can't just swoop in and offer you diplomatic protection if you get into some trouble. To country A, you are one of them. Full stop. State sovereignty is king here.
And yeah, with rights in two countries, well, you get responsibilities to both. And this is where it can get really tricky. You could be legally required to do military service in one country. You might owe taxes to another, even if you don't live there anymore. It creates this whole tangle of legal obligations that someone with just one nationality never even has to think about. So let's bust a couple of common myths right now. The biggest one, the idea that you can just pick and choose which country's laws apply to you. Absolutely false. The law of the land you are physically standing on is the one that matters, period. And, like we just talked about, having more passports doesn't automatically mean more protection because a country's power within its own borders is absolute.
All right, let's zoom out and tie this all together. It's time for the big picture. Which leads us to the question that always comes up. I mean, if 2 is possible, what about 3, 4? Is there a maximum number of passports a person can legally have?
The answer is honestly kind of mind-blowing.
There is no global limit. Nope. Since every single country gets to make its own rules, a person could, in theory, just keep collecting nationalities as long as they meet the legal requirements for each one. The only limit is how many countries' laws will claim you.
If you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Dual nationality happens because laws overlap, not because the international system planned for it to happen. It's really a phenomenon born from chance, a beautiful, complicated accident of legal history.
So, you see, from having no state at all to having one to having several, it's all part of a spectrum. It's not some weird exception, it's just a reflection of our incredibly interconnected world. A world where that simple question, "So where are you from?" can have more than one right answer.